Pat Tabler joins us on the phone as we continue to discuss Bautista's return to Toronto. Pat, I want to ask you first, I asked Ben and I asked Shai, your thoughts initially on hearing the news.
Well, I know that's good news for the offense. I know a lot of people were wondering where the Blue Jays were going to get their offense. And I think Jose's on-base percentage was something like .360, and he hit over 20 home runs. I know that was a big question mark heading into the offseason. I think it was a foregone conclusion that both Edwin was going to be gone and Jose was going to be gone, taking out a big hole of a whole bunch of offense from the Blue Jays. Well, they get some of it back this afternoon, according to Ken, and that gives the Blue Jays another veteran guy, another offense, and it still needs a few more bats for the offense. But I think that's something that the coaches are very happy about, having another piece back.
Ben, we're looking at, Bautista's last 5 seasons as the Blue Jays. We see obviously the numbers slightly lower last year, but injury is a big part of that. He was in and out of the lineup a couple times. What kind of season can we expect offensively from Bautista this year?
I think health is...
I'm going to... Pat, you know what? You give us your thoughts first, and then we'll go to Ben.
Well, Jose's not the same player he was 5 years ago. I think that's safe to say, and I think everybody knows that the guy who in 2010, 2012 is not going to be the same guy in 2017. But he's a veteran presence who understands the game of baseball and how to get on base and drive in big runs, and still use what he's lost physically, that he can use his smarts and his experience to him. He does a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't realize when it comes to watching film, helping younger players, picking out little idiosyncrasies that the pitchers do that give away certain pitches that are coming, always into the ball game, things like that, and his will and his drive to be a great player and to win. I think when you add all that up, I think that more than makes up for what he's lost physically when it comes to hitting.
And Ben, your thoughts?
I agree with everything Tabby said right there. When you look at a player who has a ton of offensive pedigree, but who still has the skills to go out there and hit maybe 30 home runs, get on base a lot. The batting average is never going to be that high with Jose Bautista, but I think realistically he can still be an offensive force on any given day, and we saw that at times down the stretch and even into the playoffs last year.
Now, Bautista returning to Toronto is bad news for the rest of the AL East. He's put up some pretty good numbers against the division as well. In fact, the most home runs against the AL East in the last 5 seasons as well. Pat, you're around this team all the time. You see them as they play. How important was getting him back in the context of the division? The division strengthened itself over the offseason, but now Toronto has a key piece back as well.
Well, there's no question that in the American League East, every one of the parks that you hit in is a great hitter's ballpark. And every lineup is pretty deep when you go through Baltimore and New York and Boston and the Blue Jays and then Tampa. You can throw Tampa in there. You have to build with offense because of the ballparks that you play in. You have to be able to lift the ball and get the ball in the air. And I think that's one thing that the Blue Jays were so good at the last 2 years, is they had some thump in that lineup, and it fit perfectly in the American League East. So getting somebody like that back in their lineup, and you got to remember, when you build a lineup, it's not just about 1 or 2 guys. It's how does it work together? How do they all work together in unison when you put them out there on that lineup? So when you've got a Tulowitzki and Donaldson and now Kendricks Morales, who gives them more balance, a little bit better hitter, and he's going to drive in a lot of runs, and a veteran presence in Bautista and Martin, now you're starting to talk about a lineup that's really starting to fit together as a unit. I think they still have some work to do. I'd love to see him get another left-handed hitter, preferably in the outfield, another left-handed hitter to go along with that offense to balance it out just a little bit more.